your
Guys, I
seats.
just added
The show is about to
link
begin.
We're about to go.
into perfect.
Yep, hang on. What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of On the Wire. Today we are with the team that put on Outer Edge LA last week. It was an exciting event. We're going to go here into the screen. Let's see if we got the group scene. I do not have. Let me see. Add to scene, remove, add to scene, remove, add to scene. Oh no, my speakers are not coming in. So we're gonna do this intro real quick and then we'll pull the group in here. I know we got them backstage. We also have the Twitter space going. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, we got the Twitter space happening. You can jump in and ask questions as we go. We've got the, the leadership team here at Wire. What's up? We got Ken and Kyle. Do you guys wanna say hi for a second? I'm gonna go ahead and bring the rest of these guys in as we go here. Ken?
Sure. Hi guys. Hi everybody. Yeah, it's gonna be a great space and a great YouTube for us. The Outer Edge conference was fantastic. Kyle came out it was out here in Los Angeles, so we brought Kyle and the team out from Bradenton, the Tampa area, and then today we're bringing on the Outer Edge team so we can talk about all the great things, all the successes, and where we're going to go from here, which is the starting point for a great Outer Edge Wire Network relationship and where we're looking to take it.
Okay. It
was a lot of fun.
Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
It was a lot of fun. It was great to see, people using the network and the app and kind of like a Web3 workflow for the conference. Lots of positive feedback. We had some of our engineers there too. They really enjoyed getting to kind of see the end users, enjoying the fruits of the work.
Event, and we wanted it to basically put people to sleep and overload their brains with complicated things that they can't understand. So no, that I agree. The event was great. The app was awesome. It was really fun to have it integrate in so many ways, beyond just being an app where you can see what's on the schedule, right? It's really cool to have NFTs integrated and networking and lots of fun stuff like that. So yeah, and kudos to you guys. We keep talking about how you did it so quickly. You pulled together what we had on that very quickly. So that was very cool.
Yeah, nice. Okay, quick update for what's happening here from a technical side. For some reason, I'm still not getting Josh's video. I see him in the background 3 times here. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I was able to add Ethan and Zach here. So you see everybody kind of lined up and stacked up on the left here. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I just don't see a video or audio for Josh. So I'm sorry, Josh, if you're hanging out back there, if you can, I know you've tried to reboot a couple times. I'm not sure if that's on our side or your side, but we may not be able to get Josh in here. But we do have some folks hanging out on the Twitter space. So shout out to the Crypto Empress. I see Zach over there, 4DF. What's up, Marion? We got the Boss Girls hanging out. And then if you're in the chat, in the YouTube chat, say what's up too. I see Ergoth in the chat, so say hi in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. We've got the the Outer Edge LA, formerly known as NFT LA. Did that happen a lot? Let's talk a little bit about that kind of to start out here. Where did that come from? Like, what was the switch about? Because that was like a thing the whole time. So let's set the scene. Why Outer Edge this year versus NFT LA? What was kind of the impetus for that?
Well, Raymmar, I'd love to get Josh to talk about that. We're still trying to get his setups, so I'll talk a little bit about Wire's involvement, the app, and then maybe we can circle back to the Outer Edge team right after that.
Zach and I can cover that too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go for it then.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Um, yes, we got a lot of that. And it was fun to kind of play around with the fact that we got to have like two names. It's almost like you have, your nickname and with different people and stuff like that. I think that there was a contingent of folks that really felt attached to the sort of NFTLA brand and name. Um, Almost in a stalwart fashion. Like, this is what I'm sticking with. Some people had their side events and they just very explicitly said, this is NFTLA for me. And that was fun, really, to be honest, to have people have such kind of passionate connection to where this all started. And so the way I've been explaining it to people is I personally, I guess all the leadership can speak for themselves, but I don't mind people, speaking of it as NFTLA. I see it almost like the Venn diagram where NFTLA is in the center circle, outer edge is in the outer circle. So outer edge encompasses NFTLA, and NFTLA is kind of like the foundation of everything. So I believe they kind of go hand in hand, and it'll be fun to see how the community there's different segments of the community and different personalities respond and connect to the various terminologies around it. That's my take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, Outer Edge LA couldn't exist without NFTLA, and NFTLA is not. It's not like in the past or something that's dead and been replaced. It's it planted the seed that grew into something even bigger. Like NFTLA, there's a reason there is such a strong connection for so many people, in that it was such a fantastic experience last year, and it's built such deep community. And the way I see it is that NFTLA continues inside of Outer Edge LA going forward, as Ethan was alluding to. But in how useful the term NFTLA is in describing exactly what it is, that's a major benefit. And we wanted to make sure that we're not also boxing ourselves in, because there are so many amazing conversations that happened both last year and this year, that were broader or touched on more diverse topics than what is really described by just those 5 letters.
And I want to commend Outer Edge for taking that chance, that leap. So you could have just sat there and did NFTLA and that been the entire business model. But there's an opportunity here. We're still very early in the space, and there's room for a lot of big companies to blossom out of this. A lot of brand and media companies, and even platforms or applications that you're looking to build. So to take that whole approach and go after it, rather than just be a one trick pony, like, that's good on you guys for going after it.
Yeah, and it was such an interesting event because there was the conference that took place kind of, no pun intended, center stage in the LA Convention Center, but then there were also all these like peripheral events that took place kind of all around it and offsite and around the edges, and there were kind of creative events, and there were hands-on events, there were arts events, there were music events, there was like all this variety of stuff. So I kind of see this as a trend in conference planning in general. Do any of you guys want to talk a little bit about just the vibe itself, how this evolved, where the idea for the structure came from? And Josh, maybe if there's any chance, does Josh want to maybe join us on Twitter Spaces? Josh, if you can get to the Twitter Spaces, we can try to bring you in there as a backup.
Yep, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, nice. We do hear you.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, I think we're always evolving, right? And I think, we had a great experience last year with NFTLA, and there were over 150 side events. But we also got feedback that people had FOMO because there's so many things happening at the same time. And so we sort of thought about it for a while, and we're like, how do we embrace all these incredible community partners and support them sort of having the spotlight on what they're doing? And for those that want to have more folks, how do we sort of make it a win-win? And that's where the genesis of Community Day came from. And there were so many incredible projects that did their own things on Community Day, from Dead Fellas to Proof to DGods. And there were also community events that were more meant for our collective attendees, such as the wellness event on the west side, where I got a much needed IV shot and some mushroom tonics, and it was great. It was really amazing. Nicole Buffett did an oracle reading of my girlfriend. It was a lot of fun.
I was gonna say
There was
I got a card reading. Who was the lady at the what was that party? The Ape Water party? There was just a diversity of things happening all over the place. It was so good.
There's a lot of wellness, and Ape Water had a philanthropy event that we partnered with them on, and Ariel Caputo and our team did an amazing job bringing dozens of leaders and social impact together so they could have some casual get together time and better understand what each other's doing, and some healthy snacks. And there was an esports event at Future Factory. It was great. And, we didn't know how it was going to play out, to be honest. Like a lot of things in Web3, it was an experiment. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive around the structure.
Yeah, it was just such a different event too. If you're on the Twitter Spaces, you're not seeing this right now, but we're looking at some footage. We were scrolling through the Twitter Spaces for the Outer Edge event, and right now it looks like we're looking at the closing party with just some of the virtual capture and the stuff that was happening probably offline. And so it seems like even the folks that were maybe not in LA got a chance to experience a lot of what was going on through some of that community stuff, right? Some of those outreach. It seems like there were so many, again, streams, people live streaming, capturing content. I think more than half the booths had some kind of like podcast setup or some kind of mic setup. So there was so much. Is this your vision for just the future of these types of events, for the future of how communities connect? Does anybody want to speak a little bit to just the general vibe, or where you think this technology is headed as it connects communities and kind of ushers in this type of opportunity for folks?
Sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, decentralization is something that of course we've been talking about for years, involved in crypto NFTs and blockchain. And of course we talked about it last year, but I think very, very intentionally this year we thought about how can we create more decentralization in terms of the event itself. And so we had this land grant program at first time we did something like that, where basically instead of doing something outside the convention center walls, you do something inside, and we kind of grant you land for very inexpensive, basically at our costs. And yeah, so to answer your question, I think we're going to be returning to doing things like that in the future.
So hang on, explain that concept a little further to me. You're saying the space inside the conference center was essentially subleased back out to the vendors in different communities. So you kind of like made a town hall out of the event venue and kind of let people run their own little shows, or what? Kind of talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah. I think of it more like we landed on another planet and people got their plots of dirt on Mars or whatever. But yes,
nice,
exactly.
That's such a rad concept. I mean, so many people when they throw an event like this, it's all about like, what are we gonna do? And we're gonna have the booths, and we're gonna charge you so much money to have the things. Versus like what you're saying is, you just kind of opened this and said, hey, we're gonna enable this or empower this, and then kind of let folks fill in.
Yeah, I've been to Burning Man a couple of times, and one of the values that they uphold there for the community is radical participation. And so that just means when you show up, everybody's expected to kind of be a part of the show, right? It's not a spectator sport. It's not a place to come and just see what everybody else is doing. We're not that, sort of stringent about what we expect of the community. There are people that might be newbies that could show up and just kind of look around and find their place without feeling like they have to sort of perform or make the experience for everyone else. And at the same time, the program, like what we're talking about, it at least rewards the people that really have that ethos where they want to provide part of the experience for the community, right? So, oh, hey, if you're going to show up and you're going to do that, let's make it super easy for you to do. And in fact, sort of, you know, symbolically and actually give you a piece of the pie.
Yeah, we've got a few folks here. Let's see. 4DF here, first ever NFT conference, and it was amazing. So many pop-ups and events. So folks in the YouTube chat saying hello from London, England. Hello from Dubai. What's up? What's up? So many great opportunities to network and build bridges between founders, builders, investors. Let's see, the 50-year anniversary of Dark Side of the Moon party was incredible as well. So yeah, a lot of these different activations. It seems like the community kind of took ownership of the event, which is a cool concept. Josh or Zach, do you want to share anything more on that? And Ethan, there's a chat in the control room. Could you share your Twitter handle so I could throw it up on your under your name there? So just
Sure.
Raymmar,
I'm sorry. What's up, Ken?
hey, I know we're having a little bit of technical issues. I just sent you a message in there. I gave Josh my link because he wanted a virtual background. So maybe that is what the issue is, because he can see me and I can see him on screen right now.
I think it has. I don't know if he's got some other kind of privacy controls or something, but I can't get the video. I don't see the video or have his audio for some reason. I think, yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. So let's get back into the, I mean, we got Josh with us in the audio here, so hopefully at least we can get your audio to continue to share with us. But just going back, does anybody want to share, like, what was your favorite part? Does anybody have a favorite memory, anything on the site or in a place that you'd like me to bring up here that we can talk about and kind of just keep sharing the experience? Otherwise, I've got some.
I've got one thing we haven't touched on that I think kind of brings us full circle, is that we actually started the week by hosting a hackathon in Santa Monica. So really, if there was any one theme for this week and this year, it's, you know, that we're in a builder's market, and we were celebrating people building awesome innovations and new technology and new opportunities. And so that's one of the reasons we're so thrilled to partner with Wire Network, because you guys exemplify that building here. Really outside of the price of ETH, you're just building really cool technology, and that's who we were celebrating throughout the week. And we got to host our first ever hackathon the weekend prior, and award several prizes, including a $10,000 grand prize on stage during the conference. So that's really, that's what our commitment was, and our focus was this whole week. And it was so great to, also get to benefit from the vibrant community that both, is here locally in Los Angeles, or came to join us and make everything happen.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look to see if there were any pictures or anything of that hackathon that I could like pull up to share with folks. Do you guys have was there a URL for that by any chance?
Hackathon. We definitely have some cool content. Actually, a social media guy shared with us internally a bunch of cool sizzle reels. One of them had a video of the guys with the check, the big, we gave one of those gigantic checks on stage at the event. I don't know if we've released those publicly yet, though. I
did find my way to the website here, just a heads up. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. If you're watching on the Twitter Spaces, and if you're on Twitter Space and you want to request the chat, or if you have a question for these folks, feel free to raise your hand. The Crypto Empress will pull you up on stage here, and we will, get you in front of the folks here if you'd like to chat. If you were there, I'm happy to go talk deeper about the hackathon, what kind of stuff was built, and then maybe we can use that as a transition to talk a little bit about kind of what's being built in the space. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the app, because I have the app here, so we can even show folks some of what was built for that, so we can go through that. I'm this conversation can kind of go anywhere from here. I think we've set a nice little stage, so let's jump into kind of what's happening in the builder space, what people are building, and transition from there. Yeah,
I was actually really happy to have awesome conversations with a ton of builders, people that participated in the hackathons, other like emerging products and what challenges they're having. Met a lot of hardware enthusiasts, which that's a small group, so it was really cool.
Yeah, what I really enjoyed was there was a lot of front end, let's retail application companies there that were trying in the NFT space or doing something around it. And for us, it was such a great opportunity because everyone who's interacted with our ecosystem, with our platforms, understands that our primary focus is usability in the Web3 space. Like, how can we make this just as seamless as possible? So with all of these applications, we were able to interact with them and find out what are their pain points being built on other blockchains or utilizing other protocols. And it was a clear apples to apples for them what our benefits are, with Wire Network, because we can show them with our proof of concepts, with the Outer Edge app, with Metacademy, with Dragon Spawn, with some of these products that we've already shipped out, and show them like, this is what working with Wire Network, here's the increased capacity, here's the improvement in seamlessness that we can offer. So it was great from that perspective.
Yo, who
That's
used the
great to
vending
hear.
machines? Sorry, the vending machine was so cool. I need one.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
OKX
yeah,
one.
those-
Let's
Yeah.
I'm going to take control for 1 second because we got Josh here. So Josh, go ahead and mute yourself on Twitter. I'm going to unmute you here and let's see how that plays out. Welcome, Josh, to the video side.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Oh, you're going to have to, I'm not sure if you have headphones or there's some kind of feedback.
Oh, he's got to turn down his volume on Twitter
Got
as
it.
well. That's probably going to
Should be good now.
There we go.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? We got the squad here now. Let's do it. All right. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to get Josh in here. What, where were we headed there?
Okay, should be good, right?
Nice. Yep. We're good.
All right, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the experience that you all had in that regard was consistent with other folks. In fact, your fellow booth row mates in live, I had a chat with them yesterday, and they were just like, last year was really, really cool, and a lot of people are exploring the space. This year, people came to our booth ready to get business done. They're like, what do you guys do? How can I use your services? And how much? And so that was really exciting that all these great companies are building in the space. We're getting qualified leads. Someone else did a tweet or sent me a DM that they got 65 qualified leads from the core event, and that's great. And our goal is to sort of make sure the real movers, shakers in this space are interacting. I know that Mintangible was, engaging with a lot of creators, which was their goal. So, if you can get everyone together in the right place that offers true value to each other, really cool magic can happen. And that was our goal with the event. And I think you never know until you press go what's going to actually happen on the ground. But as we saw everything play out, it was truly fulfilling for all of us to see people collaborating, making long-term connections, creating new friendships. There's a lot of situations where there are people that knew each other on Twitter and they never met in real life. And I saw those moments happen on the regular where they're giving each other hugs and high fives. And that was super cool. And then there's people like Eric Calderon that's like, I'm really tight with the artist community, but there's all these really interesting people here that I haven't gotten to know. And so he really enjoyed that. And that was cool. It was really special for us to see all that play out like that.
I had an interesting moment. Interesting moment with Eric Calderon in the VIP area, which was kind of anticlimactic. But he looked over and he's like, "Is that William Shatner?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's William Shatner over there." And he's like, he tagged me in a tweet recently, and I don't even know what it meant, like whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, let's go over there. You should go talk to him. It never really worked out. He was like, I don't want to bother him, whatever. I was like, well, he tagged you in a tweet. Like, what are you talking about? But exactly that kind of stuff, right? That's William Shatner over there. He tagged me in a tweet. Maybe I can go chat with him. Yeah. Sorry. What were you gonna say, Ken?
No, I just could reiterate that I had a few of those interactions too, where I had a few first time in real life meets that that were in the LA area that I knew from Discord projects, from NFT projects, and I invited them up and came up and got to meet a few that I've been really close with for literally a couple of years, just through Discord and through the communities, and finally got to meet them, and it was fantastic. Great opportunity.
Yeah. Can we, I want to go to the Twitter space for just a second. Crypto Empress, she was there with us. I'd like to maybe get her thoughts. Do you want to jump in here and share a little bit about this was your first time at Outer Edge, any of the NFT events like this? So what are your thoughts you want to share with the crowd here?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Actually, for me, yes, it was the first time ever going to Outer Edge. And I think for me was just meeting everyone and networking. It was very, very important. And also I got the pleasure to finally meet the Wire Network team. And I think for me was just learning about what's going on. And for me, it's more educational when I go to conventions like this. I like to learn and kind of engage with people, just kind of pick their brains here and there, but also it's all about the communication and kind of understanding, like, who are you kind of talking to every day, or who are you connecting with? So to me, I literally was just having a blast. I did go with a lot of people that most of you guys do know, like Loudmouth was there. I got to see Wendy O, Ashley, the Blonde Brooke. So all of them were super awesome. And that was our first time ever seeing each other. And we work with each other on like a daily day base. So I've been to the one also to the San Diego one, but LA, it's home for me. So I truly appreciated everything that you guys did. I got to see a lot of art, a lot of people that were there, and just the speaking panels for me, it was amazing. Like, it was like literally going to school and just learning everything what everybody is doing. So I got the pleasure to meet everyone. So I was ecstatic to just be there. But yeah.
As event organizers, how do you all feel about just doing this and probably seeing this evolve over the years into what it's become?
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it's always interesting to say out loud that we started with the podcast in March of 2021. And, Jeff, Josh, and I, the co-host of the podcast, we all had our previous experiences and things, and our familiarity with blockchain and that scene of things. But at the same time, we kind of started from scratch. We didn't know who our guests were going to be for that podcast. We didn't know how quickly it was going to have traction. And it's just such a privilege to have, 1 year later, did NFTLA as a first time event that was an incredible success, based upon the foundation of that podcast that kind of started from scratch. And then to have come so far with Outer Edge LA, that we've not only had another event that was successful, had its own sort of new iteration, but now the brand has expanded and it encompasses even more. So it's just a privilege to work with everybody that's been on the team. Also just reminds me of all the people. We have a ton of people behind the scenes working on this project, all the way from social media to operations, to booking the sponsors, to booking the speakers, and coordinating all of that. And it really took a lot of effort from a lot of people to make it happen. And I think I probably Josh and Zach would say the same. We're just privileged to be have such a wonderful team to be able to make this kind of stuff happen.
Nice.
Yeah, what I kind of want to take this in a certain direction. I feel like it's a good time. I want to talk about Wire Network, what we did with Outer Edge, and then Josh, I want to kick it over to you because I want you to talk about the future ambitions and what we're looking to build. What Outer Edge is looking to be overall, and then potentially where our partnership is going to come in to help facilitate that. So we were one of the main sponsors for Outer Edge. And when Josh and I met at LA Blockchain Summit, the Draper Goren home event that was at the end of last year, because we were a sponsor there, and got to meet some of his team. Josh and I met for a little bit, exchanged numbers, and then because we knew that at that time NFT LA was going to be a few months away, so we knew we were going to work together. And then Josh and I reconnected when it was the right time, and we started working on what that sponsorship looked like. And for me, we're at that point now where, like I said, we have product, we have a lot of technology sitting on the shelf. And for me, it's all about use case and proof of concept and getting our technology in everyone's hands. So I talked to Josh because all Bitcoin, crypto, NFT conferences, they all use a Web 2 app called Brella. Anybody who's been to Token 2049 or NFT LA the previous year, or pretty much anything, they use Brella, which is just a Web 2 conference app that gives you a lot of functionality, gives you the schedule, lets you have meetups, do all the normal things. But it's a sales as a service model. You integrate your conference, you jump into the app, and then it gets taken away after you're done, after a few weeks. And so Josh and I were talking about that connection point. I said, well, Wire has all this technology. We can add, these 3, 4, 5 things in and create a Web3 conference app that has all the functionality of Brella at not the cost of Brella. And we actually have things that we can add in that Brella can't do. So Josh and I talked about that functionality, and he said, yeah, let's do it. And we went from start, call it partnership, to App Store approval in iOS and in Android in 3 weeks, full production. And that was, I knew we could do it. That's why I offered it up. But I wanted to show just how powerful we are and how fast we can execute. And so the app that we built has, Wire technology all the way through it. The registration process is our Web3 registration, our single sign-on technology that we've created, where you have a username, email, password. That username is Wire name service. So you now have a Web3 identity through a Web2 workflow that you didn't even know it was Web3. So that's kind of our claim to fame. And then we had our NFT camera functionality that we've had for a long time. And so we put that in because we wanted everybody at the event to be able to, and they did. We have a lot of NFTs created from that event where people were just taking pictures. We were doing it. But at all these events, you could take pictures, upload, and mint NFTs on the fly for free. And you could do it in under 15 seconds, which is just unheard of in the space. And then we had encrypted messaging where you could be DMing privately, or there's a general chat inside the app. There was the full schedule where you could favorite what panels and what chats that you wanted to be involved with, and it would push notification when that event was coming up to make sure that you didn't miss it. And lastly, we had the profile. So Outer Edge initially had ticket sales through Eventbrite, and so we had to take that API, and with your identity that you already registered, we had to connect into our profile, into the Wire wallet that was on the back end of this, so that when you came, that Eventbrite API would match the email address that you used to buy your ticket, and it would give you programmatically the general admission or the VIP or whatever ticket that you had in an NFT format inside your wallet. So everyone got an NFT that, you know, that downloaded the app and utilized it. And so we were able to pull all of that together and get it live in time for the conference. And it was just such a powerful proof of concept that no one realized that it was a Web3 app until we told them. And that is the future of blockchain. I think it was somebody, one of the guys who owns a lot of punks that's on Twitter. Like he's kind of like a thought leader in this space now, and he always talks about, mass adoption happens when the tech fades away, and the tech's fading away right now with Wire Network, and we are the leader when it comes to that kind of technology. And so we're very proud of that, and that was the opportunity for us at Outer Edge to talk with all of these other applications, all of these projects, all these builders, and offer up, where we could help, because we're going to be an infrastructure play. We have an L1, but we have these protocols, and we're going to be, this infrastructure where people can take some aspects of our technology, implement it into their tech stack, and have just vastly superior experiences based on just what we're able to add in. So Josh, I would love you to take that on and kick it off, but anything that you want to add in as far as just blanket overall, like Outer Edge, like what are you guys trying to accomplish? Like what are your future aspirations?
Yeah, I guess to start, our goal has always been to sort of practice what we preach and sort of be an early adopter of some of the technology that's out there. And I think as a media company, there's a lot of, in Web3, there's a lot of responsibility with figuring out how, when, where to use this type of unique technology that we love so much. I was on a panel with Decrypt and Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, and we were talking about all the different tools that are out there, and I think everyone's having a lot of fun experimenting. We sort of have this unique focus on both the podcast as well as larger events and smaller events, where we're essentially bringing people together to collaborate. So we're excited about any uses of technology that sort of expand possibilities for co-creation, both for folks that are new to the space and learning, as well as industry leaders. And then we're also interested in helping podcasters that sort of also want to use this technology and thinking about how to bring us together. So we've taken a very inclusive approach to looking at all the different stakeholders in the space and thinking about how this app that we've deployed now can sort of serve all these different goals is really exciting to us. We continue to produce the podcast every week, year round. All the content from Outer Edge LA will be available and accessible on our website, but also hopefully on the app sooner than later. And then people can continue to chat both in the community chat and then one-on-one. So just thinking about where we can add more value and utility to being part of the community and reward people for their participation is really exciting to us, and excited to continue our relationship, Ken, and for us to sort of dissect what is possible here and start to add new layers of features and value for the app. So definitely, if you're listening to this, if you're had a chance to participate in Outer Edge LA, there's going to be a lot of value through the technology that we're building together. And I encourage people to download that app, Outer Edge LA, on the Android store or the iOS store, and start to use it. I know Kyle's having a lot of fun in there chatting with folks. And yeah, there's just so many different ways that people can connect and stay in touch. And there's a lot of options out there, right? Twitter Spaces, which are on, is great. YouTube, people use all the time. We use it. Some people still like Clubhouse, but I think that this idea of having sort of more of a decentralized Web3 approach to community and conversation is really special. And if we can figure out ways to aid that and support, Web3 ethos and show off exciting technology that can make people's lives better, we're really excited. I think, as we think through this together, I think AI definitely comes up. Hopefully we can figure a way to tame that beast. There's just an article that my girlfriend shared with me today that Elon Musk and some others want to do a stop on AI research for a little while to sort of figure it out. But regardless, there's something in there, right, in terms of using AI for the betterment of community building and whatnot, if we can figure out how to tame it. So we're really excited about all this, and appreciate Wire's support building this app in such a short amount of time, and rolling it out, and supporting people connecting and staying in touch and enriching their relationships that they started at Outer Edge LA.
Yeah, as I was trying to set Josh up, he's DMing me like, I want to keep things close to the vest. So
don't spill the beans. That's what we do here. We just get people on. It's interesting too. Maybe I don't want to derail from here, but I'd be interested to know, like, what was the path of starting the podcast, of kind of building the audience, of getting to the place, we're kind of starting this YouTube streams. We're totally experimenting. Obviously, we're not on a decentralized platform here, but we're on Twitter and YouTube, and trying to figure out how do we kind of like just use these other platforms. But I also like the idea of, you could simulcast this into an app or into a private experience, or there's so much you can offer, like even having like a backstage where people can join and maybe get involved in the conversation. So, there's kind of a multitude of experiences happening even here, right? Us as a production team is in one experience. There's an audience on Twitter, an audience on YouTube. I mean, do we want to talk a little bit about where this is headed? I mean, we can tie in the, how we're building those things and how the tech will get there, but any thoughts on just kind of what's happening in the space, the momentum of people getting excited about disrupting, and, all these things are kind of happening at once. You see crazy things with like governments are doing this and people are doing that, and there's unrest here and there's excitement there, and it's like innovation everywhere. So like, I don't know, maybe we can just devolve a little bit into just a general conversation about like where we see all this headed. Obviously getting together in person is really important. Right? There's a lot of things that can happen in the digital space. We can be on an app, and we can be in Twitter, and we can talk on podcasts and live streams, but like getting together and having a drink or eating dinner or, breaking bread like that there's still something so innately human about those types of interactions that, I'm interested to think about how those worlds are going to blend, and it's going to require a lot of technology. And like Ken said, that technology is going to have to fade, right? We all use the internet now without thinking about it. We all get on our apps. We all do these things kind of without thought. And in crypto, to access that technology, there's a little bit of thought, right? You have to think about, is this protocol secure? Is my money safe? It's like money, not just information. So where does all this head? Let me open this up.
Yeah, let me give some history on us and sort of how that sort of influences our thoughts here as we look forward. I originally met Zach like 7 or 8 years ago when I first moved to LA. Zach has been running one of the longest running startup meetups in probably in the world. And that was like a great home base to meet some cool tech lovers in the space that wanted to sort of share what they're up to. And Zach was the guy in the back of the room just chilling. I was like, there's something about this guy. And sure enough, he was the organizer. And, that was sort of a time 7 years ago where IRL meetups, and remember meetups.com, right? Like that was a thing, right? This in real life meetup sort of experience. And then, COVID hit, right? And I think the pressure, people didn't enjoy virtual stuff as much. And I know Zach started to do some virtual stuff, but it was just like, it was all right. It was possible. And you throw in some augmented, reality in there or avatars, and it's okay. But it didn't, it kind of got old quickly for folks. And, there's a lot of Zoom related memes. Second Life has been around a long time too, right? I think Mariah Carey did a giant concert in Second Life years ago. So why is all this more important and more relevant now? Ethan, Jeff and I had known each other for a long time, and Ethan and I met through a men's group that was a in-person plus virtual sort of connection group, and then it went virtual. And what's interesting about that is I think we met like 6 months into doing the podcast together. It was like a long time after we started the show, but it made sense in that time to do a podcast. And we saw that Clubhouse was blowing up, and there was no Twitter Spaces in that moment. YouTube was going through some changes, and we're like, let's just do a podcast. It's kind of fun, Joe Rogan style, a little bit shorter, but more formatted. And that was just what made sense to us. And I'm really glad that we didn't go too deep in Clubhouse, because we would have been reliant on a technology partner that's lost some momentum, frankly. Once Twitter Spaces came along and whatnot. But who knows if Twitter Spaces will be around in a few years, or what that's going to look like. So I think when I reflect on where all this is going, one, I don't want to profess to know the answers, because I think a lot of what's happened the last few years has been rather unpredictable as opposed to predictable when it comes to, social, the specifics of where people are gathering and how they're gathering. I think there's going to continue to be a focus on sort of decentralized community. I think that the mix of physical and digital community will continue to be critical. I think that there will be more use cases for the metaverse and more gamification there. And I think the importance of what we do will continue to endure. People said that they talk to Frank DeGods on Twitter Spaces all the time, but there's something different about that physical human energy that exists. And so we just want to blend everything together in the right way and continue to experiment with that. Yeah. So I don't know, it's a long-winded answer to your question, but I think the answer is some combination of all the above, and sort of trying your best to sort of engage with your super fans. Yeah. Wherever in different ways, and to make those meaningful connections. I think what Gary Vee has done with VCon is really an exceptional version of that. It's a mix of folks from all different sectors, very different than other events in the space. And, they're digital, they're physical. What's the right balance in terms of how often and when and how and where? I think that depends on the community. But ultimately, it's about bringing people together and giving them an opportunity to create more impact in the world.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think what you said resonates. It needs to be fresh. Like, it can't get stale. And you've seen it, like social applications are very fickle and they have a boom bust cycle. You had MySpace, it was all the rage, and then they had some issues and Facebook came along, bam, you're done. And then everyone loves Facebook. It's the best thing. It's going to be the top forever. Instagram comes along, starts eating its cake. Then TikTok comes. And then, it's just one thing after another. You have to stay nimble, and you have to innovate, and you have to be able to pivot quickly to stay relevant. I mean, Facebook tried to go to Meta, create the metaverse. Now they're pulling back. I mean, you have to be nimble, but you have to make the right decisions, and you have to go all the way in. Kyle, is there anything on like the tech side of this next social wave that you see coming?
Yeah, I mean, we keep seeing examples of authorities and public figures that don't actually use their software or software related to their ecosystem. Like we just saw Vitalik on a live stream struggle to use MetaMask. That was really good for me. But I mean, you see problems with Twitter Spaces too at scale. There's major issues of networking when on bigger spaces. It could be better. You see issues with YouTube, everything.
Zach, you haven't talked in a while. You have any comments? You
Say
want to
some
jump
words.
in here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a interesting, just kind of thinking about kind of permanence of your online identity. If you had built everything on MySpace or Clubhouse, you might be kind of disappointed. And funny enough, it's actually for a lot of people, it's their Twitter profile that might be like their longest standing source of truth. And I think all of us on this call see a bigger possibility in something that you truly own, such as a name service, being that into the future and permanently. Because again, Elon could just decide to crash Twitter and say, this is dead now, and then your username you've had for 10 years suddenly is useless to you. But if you've got your name service as who you are and how to be found throughout the internet, that offers a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's outside of some big Silicon Valley tech company that can shut it off at any moment.
Yeah, your Web3 identity. I don't think people understand the gravity of just how enormous and useful that this is going to be. You come in and you get your name service, or you already have it, like with your .eth or your .sol. It doesn't matter anymore. Like that's all going to funnel into one identity, to one wallet. That's a little nod.
Not everybody can get an ENS domain though. That's expensive and complicated. I mean, there's definitely, I met at least personally at the Outer Edge event, 30 people that aren't even aware what that is. And now they have a, Web3 identity all of a sudden that doesn't start with OX.
Yeah. But it's what all is that? What's that identity going to be? Like you're right. Like Clubhouse, gone, or MySpace, gone. Like you can take that identity in Web3, that registration process, that single sign-on, and whatever the next big, application is or platform, you get to take that entire history with you, and you sign on into that, and there you go. It's still you. It has all your history, it has all your information, and it's not just about like your social profile. Like,
can I play devil's advocate here as like a Web 2 guy coming into this Web 3 world? And I got all these Web 3 experts here, so like let me just play devil's advocate and ask, like, what's the difference between what you're talking about and, I mean, I've been talking about for years, you need to own where you publish online, you need to own your website, you need to like own that database and be able to control it outside of social. Social is kind of like the ramps to get people into that property. But, those should be the things. And what I hear you talking about is like carrying things forward or taking things with you is kind of like having that database and having that information, and like not necessarily having your photos and videos or whatever your social profile is tied to an individual platform, but more so taking ownership of like building your own website or going to Webflow, WordPress, one of these things, and building something beautiful that is yours that you can control the experience on. What's difference between that concept and what you all are talking about?
Let me take a quick stab.
Web 1, what you're talking about, and that people are missing sometimes.
Yeah, like, dude, okay, so even a website is too high of a barrier. Like everybody thinks of their profiles as parts of these applications, but in Web3, it's going to be the other way around. Your domain is where all of your data is, like your identity, and Twitter plugs into that. It doesn't own that. Any other app plugs into that. It's all aggregated. You can, if you want to make a website with that data, you could easily do that. It's an upgrade across the board, from DNS, how domains work, how your data is stored, how the internet works.
Zach, you had some other thoughts there? Because that to me is where it gets interesting, right? It's like, how do you bring all these people along? It's like most people are just trying to figure out what the fuck Web 2 is, and y'all talk about Web 3. It's like, oh my God, I'm already left behind, So it's like, what's that
Well, when
ramp
those
look like?
distinctions fade away, as Ken was saying earlier, that's when it really becomes powerful. When people just have the experience of this is who I am and everything that works, with who my digital self is, rather than trying to own it. At least we believe that's where the future is, and that's what the better internet that we're kind of creating together is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, just take away the blockchain, take away the Web3 name, take away the Web2 name, and just look at it again from a normal user. Like, take away those definitions. Here's what they're going to know. If they go to their Facebook, login, and they log in, they're going to know that just on a base level that Facebook owns their profile, Facebook owns that, everything that's inside of there. And they're going to know that there's these other applications out there in the world that they find useful, where it's their identity that they're plugging in, and they're able to take it out at will and then plug into another, and that they might have in their profile, they're going to have these assets that may have value, and they're able to do these unique things. There's, you're able to go into places if you own a particular asset, or you're not able, or you have to go get an asset to be able to get into something else. Just from a definition standpoint, it's going to be these companies, these applications that I interact with, I know that there's no value in there, and that they own everything that I have. And then there's going to be this whole nother set that has the same, workflow. Like, that's where, again, Zach, the tech fades away. It's just going to have a different workflow, but you're going to have an understanding that your profile that you bring into these applications, to these platforms, have additional functionality, they have additional value that you can add in and or extract. And that's where the general user is going to start having the understanding. They're not going to know that it's a blockchain product. They're just going to know that
when
there's going to be bifurcated.
When does a major Web 2 player go Web 3? So Daniel is asking, when is Twitter going Web 3? He also follows up saying your ENS domain can already be used to display a personal website, and most people don't know about that. So when is this? I mean, I feel like a lot of people are working on this infrastructure behind the scenes. When do we see? Does anybody have a thought about like when we see the first major tech company introduce? I mean, obviously you saw Amazon with their NFT wallets. You see some of this stuff percolating. Like, when does a big switch flip where one of these big companies just say, hey, the underlying tech is now on a blockchain? Anybody have thoughts on that?
I don't know that putting the underlying tech on a blockchain really would be the kind of fundamental shift that we are looking for. I think part of the reason why Web3 might be the only way to disrupt the kind of free to use giants right now, like Facebook and Google, as a user don't cost you anything. So how can you, in the classical sense of the word disrupt, how do you disrupt free? You have to make it effectively. You get paid or you get ownership to use. And so it would be difficult to imagine a company that's already making $1 billion an hour with their old business model, kind of disrupting themselves that way.
Damn, that's a good way to put that, by the way.
Ethan, I know you wanted to jump in, but I guess I'll respond to Zach real quick. You're right. So I talk about this a lot when I'm in, investor pitches or talking about like what the future of this space is. It is, if you're going to bring in a Web 2 company, a known major Web 2 company, like full bore, not just talking about a little NFT, dip a toe in, like do this thing. Like, you're going to take eBay and you're going to take that and you're going to bring it over into Web 3. For them to be okay with that, there's two things that have to happen. On the front end, on the user experience end, it has to be on par or better than what they have in Web 2. And it's hard to beat Web 2 from that experience. So you definitely have to be on par. Like you have to mimic that Web 2 workflow wholeheartedly. There are benefits into Web 3 if you can do that, but you still have to be on par to let that happen. And then on the back end, eBay itself as a company has to find value, either cost efficiency or performance or something on the back end technology that you have to meet both criteria to get a Web 2 company in. It has to look and feel like a Web 2 company to their user base. They have to have, no understanding that they moved over into Web 3. That kind of functionality with cost efficiency. That's essentially what Wire's tech stack has allowed. Like you talked about free transactions. You can have free transactions in Web 3 now with Wire's blockchain node structure. So we're checking off those boxes, getting ready to onboard Web 2 companies into Web 3. Ethan, I want Kyle to jump in on that, but Ethan, anything that you want? I know you were waiting.
Oh, just to follow up on the conversation already brewing, I was going to give a bogus prediction of exactly when something's going to happen, so that's fine.
January 18th, 2014 or 24.
Yeah, no, but I think I'll just bring in, to piggyback what we've been talking about bringing existing companies into the space. I had a great conversation with some guys that are very heavy in the gaming industry, building gaming computers, for example, and we talked it through, and they're pro Web3. They got Web3 companies themselves, where they're like, the case for taking a gaming company where they own your assets and turning that into a gaming company where the users own their own assets is very difficult, because it's like saying, throw money away or something, right? Because that's not their business model.
Right.
It's like going to Blockbuster, and asking them to turn into Netflix, right? Overnight. It's just not how they know how to do business, how they know how to make profit, how they know to transact, how all the systems are set up. So as we talk it through, even you can see how what's probably going to be happening here is this decentralized infrastructure facilitates there's no way to have objects that you can share across platforms without a decentralized infrastructure, right? And then it's probably going to turn into a forcing function for existing platforms to say, okay, uncle, we give. Now you can take your outside assets and put them in there, just because we've seen there's so much momentum there. And there's nobody we can fight against to make them go away, because it's a decentralized thing. And it's kind of like, probably what's going on with cryptocurrencies right now, and the regulators and Bitcoin. It seems like there's a certain section of the regulatory and government that thinks that Bitcoin is owned by someone, and that there's some sort of management that's going to make some decree about how it operates. It's just not going to happen. So that's interesting, right? You can't. It's very going back to Nassim Nicholas Taleb. There's very much a anti-fragile nature to some of these things. There are going to be a lot of systems that fail, but as they fail, it makes the greater system more robust. It reminds me of Wikipedia. Like everybody said, oh, Wikipedia, it's fake. It's going to be useless information. Don't use it to write your book report. Your reports on stuff or whatever in school. And I got through my PhD in neuroscience looking up G protein coupled receptors on Wikipedia, and it was pretty good information, Yeah.
Can I take that analogy and ask a dumb Web 2 guy question? So Wikipedia is well known for being kind of now especially co-opted by, lots of different folks who are not interested in having, the discussion. And so I know that's a centralized thing. That's but it started off, and like you said, it is a collaborative thing that started. And then the folks who, now run it kind of take ownership and pride. And the folks that, You know, like, is there ever an opportunity where that happens, where all this rolls into one big system, some big government co-ops the thing, and they're like, yeah, come on in, until it gets to a certain point, and then all of a sudden they're just like, gotcha, bitch, and now you're all in the game? Or is that just not even like a thing to consider here?
Well, just to go back to your initial example, because maybe I'm just not up on the latest news. Who's co-opted Wikipedia?
Oh, there's tons of people that go, like you hear now, where you hear about some, just like all the censorship, on Twitter, that's not happening until you find out that it actually is happening, right? And so like all of these companies are doing little things, little pockets of people who are doing good because, like I'm just protecting the voiceless. I'm protecting the oppressed or whatever it is. And so these people take this role of like, I'm here now. Right? Like, you put me in charge to take care of this little decentralized thing and be a steward of this information or this infrastructure. But now I, the benevolent dictator, know how to do it better than you. And so you get people now in power that are like, oh, well, shit, like I can just, tinker this thing or tinker that thing. But it's really not censorship. It's just I'm making sure it's safe for everyone, you know?
mean, I do think we have to be careful about that with all technologies as they evolve. I think the greater point of not being able to stop things is one that's salient here. AI, Google, whatever, these search technologies, things like this, they come and they roll in, and you can't turn back the hands of time. They just keep coming. And I think there is a trend, which I agree with, where there's a lot of optimism and excitement and hope when a new technology arises that it's going to solve certain problems. And then, certain actors and parties get involved and they say, hey, you know what? Like, I think the worst case for that we're dealing with right now is the internet has turned into a privacy, cluster F, whatever, right? It's just like
surveillance
I don't
capitalism
know,
is powering the whole thing.
Exactly. But just to go back to the original point of around Wikipedia, I think that there still is decentralization. I think there's a fascinating amount of decentralization. Number one, in the foundation of Wikipedia, in the fact that it could even start, right? This counterintuitive idea that a bunch of people who just wanted to, and I believe, to make like a mild joke about it, I believe there's probably a large autistic population that's running Wikipedia, to be honest. Right? It's just people who are obsessed with getting all the grammar right or the facts right or things like that. And so it is still, even though there's a Wikipedia Foundation and all these things and a central core running it, you can't help the fact that it did arise out of a decentralized concept, without anybody having to force that, put things out of structure, put things out of business that were not decentralized. And there's
but you could say Hitler came that way too, right? Hitler was elected. I'm just saying, like, these big systems always seem like there's always somebody here, eager beaver, that build new tech, and they're like pines. I think about Mark Zuckerberg in the early 2000s, right? Like, he's just some kid who thinks he's building a cool app to connect some college kids. Never in a million years has any idea that Facebook is going to become this crazy predatory thing that people are going to use to like influence elections in years future. And so that's all I think about is like, it's almost impossible to know what people attached to this thing, right? Like, and we've seen this with FTX, we've seen this with, in the regular financial markets with Bernie Madoff. You see this stuff where it's like, even with all of the best protections, I was thinking about this regulation stuff, regulatory stuff, right? You think about the FDIC stepping in to save Silicon Valley Bank and all these other banks, and it's like, why? Like, why not let the market do the thing, right? Like, you have these humans that start pushing and pressing and pulling, and maybe this is what crypto is going to stop, but I'm not sure how. Right. This is where I always get conflicted internally, because I love it and I believe in the idea. I think like I'm one of those guys who thinks that technology can really solve a lot of like society's problems. But then I also look back at history and I see that every single time there's been this moment where this beautiful technology, this beautiful thing, then gets perverted into something else. And I just worry that, we're sitting on the edge of AI and crypto and all these things where most people don't even know how their Twitter profile works, let alone, like a Web3 wallet connection. How does the world keep up with that? And that may be a bit way too big a question, and we might be too deep into this to answer, to be honest.
Probably gonna have to wrap up soon. But
yeah, I'm sorry. I know I keep
back on what you're saying.
Well, I want to wrap this around because I want Kyle's perspective on this, because he is the tech leadership here. Back to the original question, which is, I'm sorry. In when are we gonna? Where are we at with the tech, Kyle? How close are we to? You can say we at Wire Network or we just in general, because you've come from the Web 2 space. How close are we to being able to take a Web 2 company and bring them into Web 3 wholeheartedly and be able to, be on par or outpace, what their capabilities are in web, from Web 2 to Web 3?
Well, the standards have to be there. I mean, if there's no standard for an SSL certificate and with authorities and how to do that, then you're not going to see adoption in enterprise. Big companies are going to hang back and wait until they see that type of stuff happen, and then people on their teams will look I think blockchain is a huge buzz topic for every CIO, CTO, and even just in the United States. They see the value. They understand the problems it can solve. There just needs to be like clear winners in how things are going to be done.
See, I completely agree. Just from how we get there, it's these big companies aren't going to come in until there is lower rung proof of concepts that they can point at and go, see, that technology, you can't even tell you're in Web3. Look at the seamless nature of it. And then next thing, it's like, okay, well, in their minds, if we scale this, does it still keep its structure? And then that's when you're going to start getting the big Web 2 companies in. It's only when you start doing these small proof of concept applications, that's kind of like our ethos is build it, show it, let everybody experience it. And it's going to be a game app. It's going to be, an Outer Edge conference app. It's going to be all these things where these bigger companies are going to start playing with it, or, just employees in these companies. And then they're going to start showing their boss and be like, look, here's where Web3 is now. Like, here's the functionality. And then you're going to start, seeing that start to ladder up to where once they realize this functionality can go into my company and scale and keep performance, that's when you're going to get the bigger Web 2 companies into Web 3.
I do think that compared to 25 years ago, companies they're way more aware of how disruption can affect their business. They all do experiments. They all have labs now. Like Walmart wasn't going to adopt e-commerce until it really started to affect their business to not do it. And when I say e-commerce, I don't just mean, simply doing it, but like what people expect now. I need this delivered to my house today. I need to be able to just pull up out front. Somebody walks out and puts it in the car. Payments need to be easy. I don't want to register for a big account on your website specifically. Like, so when Web3 apps start to affect businesses, those businesses are going to rapidly, look at Twitter Spaces, right? Clubhouse affected social media sites and they adopted it rapidly, and that was a good thing.
Okay, I think we're well over time here, so I think wrapping up, maybe we'll just go around the table here and give everyone just closing thoughts, starting from the top down or from the bottom up. Maybe I'll just share my, I'll call these my closing thoughts. But I always get lost in those ethereal conversations about this stuff because I'm like the hopeless, innovator that like hopes that all this stuff comes to fruition. But there's always that, like piece of me that's grounded in the real world. And I'd just be interested to see it all play out. So we'll take it from the top. Zach, closing thoughts.
I think this is the perfect group of people to just focus on what made all of this, I said this last year, really a positive one. And that is all the people building. And really that's what, that's what gets us up in the morning, is being around people who are creating. And yeah, you can spend a lot of time worrying about the past, or you can, have a lot of fun creating the future. And I think that's what we're all doing together. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
I like that. Ethan, final
Nice.
thoughts.
Yeah, just to wrap it all into the whole discussion here, with the outer edge theme, the highlight is new technology, and new culture as well, and the way those two things integrate. And to wrap that into kind of what we were recently talking about here is, there's always going to be new technology. I don't think there will ever be a time where we stop creating new tech, and I think there's always probably also going to be a couple of unnecessary ingredients there. One is there's going to be potential to create value, right? And as Zach said, we're trying to align ourselves with the folks that's kind of what they want to do, is grab this technology and do something with it that benefits other people and build, and then the other side of it is we always have to learn, study, and prepare for these new technologies and understand them, right? We can't ignore them and pretend that they're not happening, or we can, but it's not necessarily going to be to our benefit. So, I think that's why we're here, right? To support the builders and to support education and understanding, so we can all live a better future.
Nice. Ken?
Yeah, and I'll keep this outer edge focused. We were really excited to do that partnership and to be able to produce that app for you guys. And also, Josh didn't want to get into it, but the aspirations for where we can take that application and or other things that you are creating in your ecosystem and try and tie them together. At the end of the day, Wire is an infrastructure play, and we need companies like Outer Edge that are ambitious, that want certain requirements and need certain requirements to be able to grab as much audience as possible. And we are super happy to be able to be that partner and to be that company that you can rely on to to make those dreams and aspirations happen.
Nice. Kyle?
I'm not going to be focused. So AI can't be put back into the box. Pandora's box is already open. So there's no way to stop AI research. That's a foolish idea. If you're worried about your VPS provider becoming illegal, that's also dumb. It would involve like removing the internet. And yeah, blockchain's the same way. Can't put it back in the box.
Yeah. Nice, short and sweet. Crypto Empress, would you like to share any closing thoughts from the Twitter side?
For me, it's just I love seeing this everybody coming together and just kind of giving that knowledge to people that didn't make it to the event. I know a lot of them couldn't come, but this is awesome what you guys are creating. And as a community builder myself, like I love to see and learn more. So it's awesome to see like the app available and also the website to get more information. I live here in California, so I'm always looking for the next event. So I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. So keep pushing. And I'm here to support anything I could do for you guys.
Awesome. Okay, I think the timing is going to work out perfectly here because they just started like banging on the walls next to me. Maybe you heard the little bit of construction coming in the background, so the timing's perfect for just us to end here. If you're watching us on Twitter Spaces, thank you so much. Make sure you follow our Twitter account. We're going to keep doing these spaces, and we'll probably experiment with doing them a little bit more. We like to do the companion stream, so if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for hanging with us. It was cool to have the visuals of the event. I think there's something about being able to see the videos and the pictures and the things, especially when you're talking about an event or looking at some web technology. So we're going to keep experimenting with media here. Outer Edge folks, if you guys would ever like to do more stuff, we're happy to do things like that, help produce streams, get involved in Twitter Spaces, whatever. We're here to help co-create not just the conference, but the future as well. I think you'll see we're pretty open to those types of collaborations. So anyway, thanks everyone for hanging with us. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to send it out, but take care. Catch you next week.
See you later, guys.
End on